Welcome everyone to another 2021 edition of STEM Together, where we facilitate discussions involving industry professionals and students on everyday matters involving STEM. Now, today's topic of interest has become synonymous in our vocabulary, in industry, and in everyday life, with applications in self-driving buses, adaptive video gaming, medical imaging examinations, as well as tailored content delivery in social and e-commerce platforms like Facebook, Spotify, Amazon, and so on. Now, if you've guessed it right, today's topic is on AI, otherwise known as artificial intelligence. Now, most, if not all of us have heard about it, but do we understand what AI means? What its technical, its social implications are? Will AI take over the world and make our work redundant? Now, these are some questions that we hope to address today. But before we engage in discussion, let me first introduce myself and our invited guests today. Hi everyone, I'm Danny from Science Centre Singapore, and I'm pleased to be the facilitator of today's discussion with two wonderful guests. Firstly, Dr. Xu Xinxing, a computer scientist from the A-Star Institute of High Performance Computing. Dr. Xu, how are you?
Pretty good, thank you.
Wonderful, thanks for joining us today. And secondly, we have Cheryl Tay, a student representative from Raffles Girls School. Cheryl, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Great, thanks for joining us today as well. Now, before we delve straight into discussion, let's briefly consider how AI came into play. Now, as an article that I chanced on Harvard University puts it, the concept of AI was mooted apparently as early as the 1950s when Alan Turing, the British polymath, explored the mathematical possibility, the concept of AI, in his paper on computing machinery and intelligence. And this was back in the 1950s. By the 1960s and 70s, AI developed as computers advanced in computational power and as people got better at machine learning algorithms. And by the 1990s, many of the landmark goals of AI had been achieved. In 1997, world chess champion and grandmaster Garry Kasparov was defeated by IBM's chess-playing program, Deep Blue. And in 2015, Google's AlphaGo defeated three-time European Go champion Fan Hui 5-0. And in 2016, 18-time world champion Lee Sedol 4-1, a victory that was watched by 200 million people worldwide. Now, the dramatic reactions to the dizzying heights of such AI achievements are a little bit more muted today, but they're no less impressive. Today, let's unpack AI a little bit and find out how our guests define that, how they consider its implications, and how they imagine its future. So let's start with Cheryl. Cheryl, what comes to mind when you hear the words artificial intelligence?
Well, I think of things such as machine learning and algorithms, and how algorithms help in recommending advertisements or content to consumers throughout the internet. Yeah. I mainly encounter this in YouTube, where the algorithm recommends me videos to watch based on my topics of interest, and sometimes it will also recommend strange things, strange content, but that is just YouTube.
Okay, any other platforms besides YouTube where you feel like, hey, there's some AI involved in this?
I think there is this translation website that uses AI to better translate different languages. So I use that sometimes, and actually the result that comes out is actually pretty good, pretty accurate. It's called DeepL Translate, and it's quite smart. Yeah.
It's better than Google Translate?
I would say yes, better than Google Translate.
And so what is that other language, just out of curiosity?
Chinese.
Okay, now let's jump to Dr. Xu. Dr. Xu, what comes to mind when you hear the word AI?
Okay, I think the terms come into my mind include the mathematics and computer programming. So it's more like from the technical perspective. So actually, as you know, right, AI can simulate or mimic human intelligence by learning from data. Actually, the one you just mentioned, you to discuss like the machine translation, right, and also the voice recognition. So these are the typical applications. But I can just give a few key AI technologies. I think it includes the machine learning, right? Sharon just mentioned this before, and also computer vision and natural language processing.
Would you be able to just simplify all of those three for us, so we have a better understanding of how they're different from each other and how they make up AI?
Okay, sure. So machine learning, as I think Sharon may already have some initial thoughts, right? Understanding about it. Actually, it is a core branch of AI, and it gives computers the ability to learn from data without explicitly programmed. So this is the key thing, which means, as you know, you may encounter some computer program, right? But some are rule-based, which means you define the rule, right? You define some basic rules to give you some output numbers. But the machine learning actually, it can learns directly from the data without you define any specific rules. So this is magic. So it can learn things by itself.
So I guess that's how IBM and AlphaGo actually beat the world champions at those games.
Yes. That's the key idea. Actually, the AlphaGo, right? It can learn from the human player as well. Even it can also learn from zero, which means the AlphaGo does not need any human to teach him how to play the Go, but it learns just based on the specific deep learning, machine learning algorithms, and it gradually becomes better and better. So maybe at the beginning, it is just like a kid, right? Like children playing the Go, but gradually it becomes very professional, and finally even can beat the human champion. So this is the magic of the machine learning.
Okay.
So the second keyword is the computer vision. So the computer vision actually concerns about how computers see and understand digital images and videos. So one common example could be the face recognition, right, from facial images. So for nowadays, because you have any camera, right, then you will see a bounding box to localize the face, right? So this is face detection, which is a very popular machine learning product. But when it comes to the higher level, it also can recognize who you are, right? How old are you? And whether you are male or female. This kind of thing all belongs to the field of the computer vision. And the third one is natural language processing. I think Sharon just give a very example, right? Good example is machine translation. It is exactly what the natural language processing is doing. So it is an area about understanding the human natural languages.
We're going to move a little bit now to the next pillar of this discussion, from the definition of AI to the implications of AI. Now, there's this phrase that says machines aren't taking jobs, they're transforming them. Cheryl, what do you think?
I actually wrote some notes about this yesterday before I slept, so I'll just I wrote them on my phone, so I'll just read them out. Okay, so this is how I personally feel about this. So while machines remove the need for jobs in a certain area, right? So it also simultaneously creates skilled jobs in another area. So maybe, for example, you have a machine that makes like 100 pillows an hour. So while we no longer need people to actually like manually sew the machines together, sew the pillows together, what am I saying? But we still need people who are skilled in operating and engineering the machine. So it kind of like displaces the job from one area to another area. So it's not really removing the total number of jobs in total. Yeah. So it's like kind of like evolution. It creates new niches of jobs. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's an interesting practical observation where I think you're right. I think it does inadvertently create another area of work, I think. Yeah. I do wonder what about the masses though that are involved, and also the number of jobs that are actually opened up versus the number of jobs that are affected and axed, I think. So, but that's a good revelation there, I think, from your side, I think. What would be your reaction if you were to step into university one day? I mean, you're probably going to finish up at RGS and contemplate junior college and university. What would be a reaction if you were to step into university one day and find a robot in place of a human lecturer?
A bit shocked, I would say, because the human touch would not be there. Yeah, so that's how I feel. Yeah, I mean, imagine if you're just sitting in the lecture hall and then it's just a robot talking and teaching. It's kind of a bit sad, if you say. At least with a human there, you can add some humor or something. Like the human interaction is kind of important. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think from what I hear from Dr. Xu earlier, it looks like the general AI hasn't quite caught up with that, fully being able to simulate that humanistic aspect of life. I think, yeah, they are getting closer and closer to that. But you're right. I think the human touch is a key thing. And that's something many of us, even from work from home, where we are desk bound and we are looking at our devices and communicating through that only without seeing one another and talking directly to one another. It's just so different, isn't it? Yeah. And probably for you as well, when you're studying from home at one season when the COVID was quite intense, that first onset of it, yeah, it must have been quite different, right? Okay. All right. So what about you, Dr. Xu? What is your take on AI machines not taking jobs, but transforming them?
Yes, I think I couldn't agree more on this view. So, for example, in the area of healthcare, actually healthcare workers still play an important role, even though we have been developing some successful artificial intelligence technologies for this sector. So I think AI will still be used as a tool to assist the doctors and the nurse to make better and faster decisions, rather than AI taking over human. People and AI will work together in a collaboration manner.
All right. So I think what you're saying is that it could probably optimize our work. It may not replace us per se, but could complement, supplement the work that we do, especially in analysis or quick detection. How are you considering the social and ethical considerations in your development work? Because I think with AI applications, sometimes the biasness that are built into it, the calibration of it is not perfect. It is, after all, done by humans, and perhaps it is learning on the go, but how is that impacting the development work, or how are you building that in the way that you approach the development work? You have these considerations, the social aspect, the technical limitations. Yeah.
Okay, I think this is also very important when we are developing the AI models, right? And usually the AI model is trained using a large collection of data set, and the data actually cause these bias you just mentioned. Since the data set may be just collected from certain place, right? I think I first take the AI voice assistants as an example. So maybe we use some product, right? But this product could be trained using data collected from Western speakers, right? So they may just function very best in Western countries. But when they come into Singapore, right, we have Singlish. So, you know, maybe sometimes it may not perform very good, right? So, this is one example of the AI bias. But to actually to reduce such bias, right, one very good way is we can build up our local database, right, data set. We collect some local examples to further retrain the model, or we also develop some new machine learning algorithms to take all these kind of data set bias or different ASIC bias into the consideration. Then with this, we can actually reduce the bias problem. And yeah, I think this is one aspect about the bias. But another thing in the healthcare domain, right, actually is also the privacy problem. You know, because we handled about the patient data, right? So so we need to take very special care about all this data to consider the privacy of the patients. So usually our partner will seek patients' consent to participate in the study, to ask them whether they are agreeable to this research study to use their data to train a better model, right? This model actually will be helpful to the other people, right? To the other patient. So this is the first thing. Another thing is for us as a technical people, right? From the computer science perspective, usually we just handle the de-identified data without compressing patient's privacy, which means when data comes into our hand, the collaborator side already remove those personal information.
I see. Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that. Yeah. So I'm hearing from you on two big matters, which is data. I think has to be representative, sufficient data, and also we have privacy matters, which can be navigated with consent, and also with removing some of the identifiers as well. So these are some ways that these matters are being navigated. Thanks so much for sharing, Dr. Xu, on your AI solutions, and also for Cheryl as well. Both of you all in concert, I think, sharing how in agreement that AI applications are actually optimizing people's work and opening up new opportunities for training and for work as well. Now, on the final pillar, let's move on to the future of AI. Now, AI is everywhere at the moment. And I think it may be safe to presume it's going to remain a big way of life for most, if not all of us. Cheryl, what is one innovation that you'd like to see in the future, something that has yet to be invented or introduced to the masses?
I mean, I was thinking more along the lines of helping in research and such.
Yeah.
Not really the masses, sorry, but because I'm more towards I'm very sciencey, so I was thinking more towards that. So I'm not sure if AI is already used for it, but maybe it can also help to analyze large data sets all at once, because I have seen times where like researchers have to like just look at this tiny data, like not tiny lah, but one data set, and then it kind of seems very hard for them to do that. So maybe AI can help to look across several data sets. Then it also has the same effect of increasing the sample size, and so maybe the results that you will get is a bit more reliable, and maybe you can more easily find patterns or trends that may help you in your research.
Wow, that's a really good answer. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. So what would one application of that be, aside from research that you've mentioned? What would be the final end goal of that research? What would that help?
I think it's just helping humanity, right? Just helping us further our goals and basically trying to find solutions to end human suffering. Yeah.
Okay. So from what I hear from you, it's basically being able to analyze big data across multiple data sets. Huh? Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay, and then that will help with, I think, coming up with something meaningful for the researcher as well, instead of looking at it in slivers, small portions at one go, which can affect the reliability of the results and so on. Okay, that's a very good, very intellectual response there. Very good. What about you, Dr. Xu? What is one innovation that you'd like to see? I'm hoping maybe it might be a product innovation, but feel free to share whatever comes to mind. And how long do you think it would take for that innovation to enter the market?
Okay. So one thing I'm thinking is maybe the personal healthcare assistance, right? So now, because now if you have some problem, right, healthcare problem, you need to go to hospital, go to the polyclinic to see a doctor, right? But the thing here with AI, right, we are able to transfer or learning some knowledge from the doctors so that the personal healthcare could be taken at home, right? So in this way, we could be able to identify some kind of disease, like for example, the heart disease, the glaucoma, quite early to prevent some irreversible damage. I think this could potentially could be a very interesting area. And as I think the Sharon just mentioned the topic, right? Next, actually, the model could be trained across multiple data sets. I think it is very, so she already has very good knowledge regarding the data, the AI. So she knows, right? So the current problem. But I think this could be another direction is that also exploring called the automated machine learning, which means usually the data scientists, right, or computer scientists need to design specific machine learning algorithm for one task, right, for one specific data set. But we are also developing automated way to do all these tasks in a uniform way. It is like the virtual data scientist, it's to use AI to train AI. So similar idea. I think this could also be the potential direction.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for sharing that. Looks like, Cheryl, you've got the a big validation there from Dr. Xu. Definitely have the aptitude, I think, and the interest of being a future computer scientist if you want to be, given the ability to research, I think, and your passion also in, I think, or your take, I think, in terms of asking you what was one thing that you'd like to see, and that was about being able to have a day when, there's an AI application that can analyze multiple data sets at a go. So thanks so much for weighing in, Cheryl and Dr. Xu, for contributing to this discussion on AI. As a noob, I think I don't know anything about it, but I think I know a little bit more now, and I've definitely learned from both of your candid sharing, and I trust that our viewers have as well. If you're all watching this on YouTube and you haven't subscribed to our channel, please hit that notification bell to subscribe. And if you're watching STEMTogether series on Facebook, click follow. And remember, like and share this video with your friends. Stay tuned for our next conversation. This is Danny with my guests Cheryl and Dr. Xu signing out. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.